Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. Michael Noland here. Tonight I'd like to discuss the rock band Mötley Crüe. Now I've made it personally clear that I've never cared for this band a whole lot myself. I have admitted that they were a tight band in their early years and had something to offer at that time period, which kind of leads me to this point. Now, the band is entering or have been in their 60s. Tommy Lee will turn 60 in October. And evidently, while they were performing at San Francisco's Oracle Park, things got, well, quite motley before the night was through. And this latest report all stems from an interview with a fan who was at that concert. Now, the fan brought out that he thought it was like Sodom and Gomorrah and that everybody was exposing themselves. Now, we're not just talking about girls being topless here. That's been seen at rock concerts since Woodstock and even before. But with recent events, and especially this frontal nude photograph of Tommy Lee that surfaced, and his like shrugging it off attitude, making big jokes at concerts, just keeps wearing on, doesn't it? Added to the fact that Vince Neal can't seem to sing worth crap these days, which, by the way, nobody's really speaking a whole lot of Vince Neal's vocals here, and that's curious. You've kind of got to wonder if there's not just a little bit of Tommy Lee running interference for his old friend. But either way, it is their statements, it is their presentation, and guess what, folks? It is Mötley Crüe's show. Now let me explain what I'm talking about here. If you've seen any of my videos criticizing the music industry, especially the live music industry, you'll know that I always hang responsibility on anything that goes wrong live for either that band or artist fully on the shoulders of that artist. When Bruce Springsteen and Paul McCartney raised their tickets to a ridiculous level, I didn't blame Ticketmaster overly so, other than to call them what they are, the professional scalper allowed to do business. But beyond that, it's Bruce Springsteen and Paul McCartney who are responsible for their live act. So back to Mötley Crüe here. What is happening at their shows? There is a lot of encouragement for people not to just take off their tops, but now we're talking about people being encouraged to show genitalia live during a show. Now, this isn't just happening in the audience, folks. This is now being shown, according to this fan who was interviewed, on the large screen jumbotrons that most people have to watch in order to see these guys because they're so small on stage, right? And by the way, he even claimed that in his sector, a security guard had to peel a man who was completely naked, showing genitalia to everybody, off of the fence. And of course, the last complaint that this fan had was that there were 6 to 9-year-olds in the audience and that this was inappropriate. Now, we're going to get to that whole idea of 6 to 9-year-olds being in the audience. I don't think many of us would argue that if there were 6 to 9-year-olds in the audience, it was inappropriate for them to see that. But I want to tag on to that in just a second here. Let's get back to the band's response over this criticism. And by that, I basically mean Tommy Lee's response. First of all, his initial statement was basically, "Oh my God, boobs and penises, what are we going to do?" Now, this fan's name who was interviewed was Juan. Evidently, Tommy Lee retorted by saying, "Hey Juan, I got a question for you. What the blank do you expect to see at a Mötley Crüe concert?" And then his next statement to Juan was, "We have been doing this for blanking ever, you blanking blank," which is another point we're going to address in my comments here. Tommy went on to say that the world is too soft and that Mötley Crüe has always done this and that we have never been a PG show. And then he also, there at the end, brought up a question that ties all of these points together, and that was, what the hell were 6 to 9-year-olds doing at one of our concerts, and who's responsible for that? Is it us or their parents? You know, I've got to tell you, that one last question tells me Tommy Lee ain't half as dumb as I thought he was. That's actually a very good question. If there were indeed children of any age that's too young to watch this kind of activity, what the hell is happening when parents are going to rock concerts that show and display things they'd never allow their kids to go see? And with today's laws, really, I mean, how close is that to actual child abuse? Now, I'm not saying on the part of Mötley Crüe here. I'm reiterating the parents who would bring children to such a rock concert. But now let's get back to Tommy Lee's statement regarding that Mötley Crüe has never been a PG live act. I think we already knew that, Tommy. Everyone's known that since the day you guys took stage, okay? And in the 80s, there's no doubt, the more intelligent of the species turned their heads, while you and your Mötley Crüe represented the very best of what I consider to be trailer trash rock and roll. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not against an occasional nasty song. Love, why don't we do it in the road? Led Zeppelin put out a whole lot of love, and there's a story behind that. No, I'm not against freedom of speech in rock and roll at all. It will exist, it should exist, but there is also such a thing as taste and evolving one's opinion over the decades as you age, as you experience life. And all of this leads me to this question. Vince, 61 years old. Tommy Lee, 59, soon to be 60. You haven't changed your viewpoints at all. Now, we were used to your R-rated presentation, but it seems like you're making a special effort to become the world's first triple X-rated band or something. You know, this reminds me of The Wizard of Oz. You know, Dorothy, the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion all entering the great Wizard of Oz's hall and his giant head up there, and somebody eventually saying, "Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain." You see, I think this is all smoke and mirrors. Now, by smoke and mirrors, I mean, part of this, I think, was to take some of the hot spot off Vince Neal. He was getting a ton of criticism, by me as well, for not being at his best vocally or physically, for that matter. But it's not just that. I think Mötley Crüe decided before they ever went on tour, we will grab more headlines than any other band in the summer. Let's just see what we can get away with. And you know, for the most part, it's worked. Most people are talking about Mötley Crüe this, Mötley Crüe that. Not Poison, not Def Leppard, not Joan Jett for the most part. They are talking about this band, and that's exactly what Tommy Lee wanted. But you know what I don't see with this band, beyond all of these shenanigans, is a maturity that you see in other bands. As they go through the decades, they even stand for different things. You know, this band seems to be stuck permanently, in many ways, in that pre-puberty mindset where everything's a tee-hee-hee, a ha-ha-ha, and that leads to the question, is Mötley Crüe really the Lost Boys of rock? You know, when we talk about Peter Pan and the Lost Boys, these were a group of boys who were in a state of perpetual childhood, incapable of growing up. And you know what? I'm wondering if maybe the way this band was put together, the decade that they became popular in, and fueled by whatever they're putting into their bodies, if they didn't start believing, if not actually creating, this Lost Boy mentality. I swear to God. You know, I'm a fan of the movie Lost Boys. All you have to do is just kind of replace Tommy Lee and Vince Neal Nikki Six with these young vampires that are in the movie, right? They show the same unwillingness to change and that they are bound and determined to be this statement of youth at 60. But here's another thing. There's a lot of people going to these concerts. Now I know they're not all going to see just Mötley Crüe, but they seem to be buying into whatever this band suggests to do, or at least a significant portion of that audience. Have we now, in the year 2022, seen the very first of rock's Lost Boy rock-going concert audience? Has the refusal to grow up and do silly teenage things become such a norm that even we as a society find this acceptable? All right, guys, that's about it for the video tonight. It was a real quick one. Like I said in my last video, my next planned video was my new Led Zeppelin video, and it is coming, folks. But you know, I did state in that video, if anything really new in the news that affects us and affects the music industry came up, I'd be covering that, and of course, this video is all about that. But my next Led Zeppelin decoded video is due out next. I want to thank everybody for watching my videos, and if you like tonight's video, please give it a thumbs up. That gives it a much better chance for a wider audience when you do so. That evidently triggers the YouTube algorithm. I want to thank everybody who has shared our videos. That, of course, is responsible for the incredible growth that the channel has experienced. Now, if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, it's real easy, and here's how you do it. You just hit that subscribe to the tribe button, hit that top bell notification, and you'll be notified of all my future videos. The names in front of me are all brand new subscribers. As you know, I have made the announcement that on September 30th, we're going to stop doing those shout outs, but I am going to make an amendment to that, and I'm surprised I didn't think about this. You know, our 1-year anniversary is October 28th. Now, I joined YouTube on the 12th of October last year, but I didn't put out my first video until October 28th. So what I'm going to do, folks, in honor of our 1-year anniversary, any new subscribers will get a shout out. It will take a while. I am so far behind, and that's just one of the reasons why we're going to stop this process, while I can still get your shout outs within a semi-timely fashion anyway. So October 28th will be the last day, and of course on the 29th we enter year 2. All right, so by the way, I also know that not all of you are going to agree with my viewpoints. My viewpoints are only my viewpoints. I try to do my research. I always try to bring an even and balanced approach to my videos, but I'm quite aware that there are those who disagree with me, and that's what the comments are for, and that's where this channel comes to life, folks. Take a look at some of the comments in my videos. That's where we come to a general consensus. That's where the tribe exists. You hear me saying, subscribe to the tribe. That's where the tribe speaks. All right, so that's the video for tonight. I'm Michael Noland, and I'll see you in my next video.